I'm just trying to have my business, sell enough product that I can fund racing again. And, let me do a quick shout out to some of these brands here before I,
Okay.
so I can maybe get some more sales from this, right? So I can get back to the racetrack here. So I got it written down so I don't forget them all on my website here. I'll go through, I got Motorsports brands alphabetically. I got about 23, I think it's 24 now, 24 motorcycle part brands. So Akasato, braking parts. I got Akrapovic, Slovenian exhaust. Bonamici Racing for hard parts. They have like rear sets and handlebars. Carrozzeria, I think you might have those Apex 6 rims from Cormoto. Those, maybe I'm not saying that right. Carrozzeria.
Dude, don't even try to get me to say that.
Italian,
Those
right?
those are the brand that Luke took over.
Yep. So now they're kind of changing it into the Apex 6 brand, but they still have the rights to the Carrozzeria Italian rims.
Carrozzeria, I
don't know how to the right pronunciation, honestly, although I sell it. Cormoto braking lines now. Discasiti Racing is a brand new one we just got. A lot of Italian sport bike parts. DNA air filters, I think those are from Greece. We have Driven Racing, so a lot of hard parts again. Easy Grip tank grips for the inside of your legs. We got the IRC components. So IRC makes quick shifters, auto blippers, everything to help make every shift go faster. Got Kriega, which is a European apparel brand. M4 Performance Exhaust Systems is my #1 bestseller.
Really?
Definitely, it's been flying off the shelf for exhaust. There's about 300 or so different models to choose from stainless steel, carbon fiber, and titanium. Slip-ons, full exhaust systems, headers. We also have Moto D Racing, which has tire warmers, stands, bike mats, which are sweet. Also, if you ever use those famous pit bull restraints, they also have their own line of trailer restraints, which are very good.
We use them.
Yeah, Motool suspension setup tools, which helps set your sag and sets your suspension settings in a nice little tool, so you can save all your settings. It's got a Bluetooth, goes straight to your phone. And as you know, setting your sag usually takes 3 people. One person to set the bike, one person to measure, one person sit on the bike. Well, this one, you can do it all with one tool. So helps garages and just racers or street riders. Anything with a chain, you can use it on. Brand new brand is Mupo steering dampers. They also have Mupo makes suspension parts, but I don't think we actually have the suspension components yet. We just have the steering dampers. OGO Power Sports, all the bags and gear bags and things. Don't have the lifestyle brand for OGO, but just the Power Sports line. Spark exhausts from Italy as well. Starlane Electronics is something that I just bought myself. I got a GPS lap timer. It's a data logger that you can hook up suspension potentiometers to, and different brake pressure and throttle pressures and all that. And a bunch of the models, you can have a direct link into your motorcycle. So it hooks up right into your ECU, so it gets all that data straight from the bike. So it's bike specific for some of the lap timers. Revit, motorcycle apparel, so all the suits and gloves and all the great gear that they have. They have a lot of off-road and touring gear as well. Roland Sands Designs, a very famous gear brand. I don't have their parts, but I do have their gear. Rucka, Rocker are both European apparel brands, and WRP Works Racing Parts, brake pads, and they have other items as well, but we just have the brake pads for right now. So those are the main 24 brands I'm working with. Actually just bought them. There's a lot of them, man, and I didn't even say them all. There's another.
Are you gonna do you're gonna do a website so people can just order stuff from you, or you're gonna rely on the email thing?
So what I do is I have my own website, ericswanracing.com, and you can buy from me at shopesr.com. I also sell on eBay and Amazon and sometimes Craigslist, like local marketplaces and Facebook Marketplace. But the biggest one right now comes from Amazon and eBay. And then my website's probably third because there's already hundreds of millions of customers on those two marketplaces. So I got to go where the people are. Right. I'm doing this podcast to help bring people to my website and kind of create an audience. So
what you need to do is hit up Yost at Attack and become an Attack dealer.
No, that's an option. I don't remember if I sent them a proposal, but man, right now with all the brands that I already have so much work. I can't take on anybody else for next year and a half, 2. I don't even know how long. It's gonna take years to get all this stuff online. I hope not. I hope it's weeks, but just been plugging away. I'm in a little bit of a unique situation because I'm doing it out of my basement. I don't have any brick and mortar. I don't have a massive warehouse. So most of it's dropship based. And that way I can actually sell these parts instead of having a massive investment of hundreds of thousands of dollars to store this inventory. I can't afford that. I wouldn't be able to do this business.
I definitely hear you on that,
So good to talk to you today, Raul. It's the EricSwannRacing.com podcast, number 73 or so. And today we got Raul Herrera. I think you're a local Michigan guy in the region, and you're a racer with Wera, and been racing at least a couple rounds that I know of, Pittsburgh and Grattan, Nelson Ledges. It sounds like. I don't know if you were able to get to the GNF this year.
I was not. No, I had transmission issues, so I couldn't make it down there.
Yeah. So I'm just looking to help promote people, talk to you for a little bit, get your story, and maybe other people can help learn from you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's the plan. We need more racers out there.
So you've been a race fan for many years, and you just when did you start racing?
So I started racing. This is my 4th year racing, but this is the actual year that I really took it to heart, and I did a full series in the North Central region.
Okay.
But yeah, I used to do Grattan only because it was my home track. It was right there.
Sure.
And I started that 3 years ago. I got introduced to racing by John Trotman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I used to call him the sensei, man. He got me set up. He allowed me to pit next to him. He helped me with the most daunting task, or what I thought was the most daunting task, which is safety wiring.
Oh yeah. So everybody thinks that's the worst thing, and it is difficult. You got to drill all those bolts and put wire through them and tie them up just the right way so you don't lose a bolt here and there. But with some help from experienced people, it's not too bad.
Oh, he made it a breeze. I mean, and he had the right tools, like he actually had a drill press. So this is all he did, and it was done.
Right.
And I broke like 15 drill bits before I was like, hey man, I need help.
For sure. And now they even offer bolts already pre-drilled in some instances. Yeah. So you can just buy them that way, and there might be a couple of dollars more, but it saves you the headache.
I would have paid for it if I knew about him, but again, you don't know what you don't know. And he's an old school racer. So to him, it's like, oh, I'll just drill him, and it's fine.
So you've been doing the Wera Novice?
I have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And have you achieved enough status in novice racing to move up to expert next year, you think?
I did, actually. It's funny enough because I know you just had a podcast with Eric Garcia. So yeah. Eric, he's my nemesis. That's what I call him.
Our rival.
Yeah. We really had a good rivalry going for actually a couple of years. There's a few videos out there of me beating him and then him beating me back. But yeah, this year me and him tied in points for the actual North Central championship, but he was consistent as heck. So he got a lot more wins. So he took it. So he got first, and I'm pretty confident I got second.
That's awesome, man.
Super stock, to be specific. Mm-hmm.
That's great. And so you're riding in the 600 class. You got a Yamaha?
I do. This is my first year with a Yamaha. So people always they pick on me because I used to be a Honda guy.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, I mean, I was running great times and I was, you know, I plenty of corner speed, but when it came to a straightaway, people would just walk away from me. So I switched this year to a Yamaha to be a little bit more competitive, and it paid out.
It seems like that's what most of the field's on, is the Yamaha. I always wanted to be a little different. I don't want to be on the same bike as everybody else. I want to be like, I was a Kawasaki guy for many years, and then I switched over to Triumph.
Yeah, those machines are amazing. So Kawas are good, you know, they have a little bit more CCs and whatnot, but very good bike. As long as you had an extra tranny, that's what I hear.
Yeah, for sure. That's the problem. I had some issues myself, and you know, it cost me some races because I couldn't compete, or there was a couple of times where I couldn't shift from third back into second. So I could shift up just fine, but then I would just keep it third and higher for a couple of races because I was like, well, I'm going to still compete. I'm just going to lose out a couple of tenths a lap. But yeah, you do what you can.
Yeah, I experienced that a little bit when I lost a tooth on second gear. So I know exactly what you felt.
Yeah. It's frustrating. And then I tried to fix it myself one time, and I did. It held up for like 2 races, and then it broke again. I was like, oh, crap. That's the problem. You know, I love learning how to do things myself, but if it's that important that you can't race, it's like, I wish I would have just paid someone to do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you do most of your work, or do you hire that out to more experienced professionals?
I tend to do most of my work, but this specific tranny issue that I'm having, right? I actually had Kyle from Rapid Cycle help me.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Local guy out of West Michigan, great. So we actually had to crack open the case. It's just one gear that broke a tooth. So I don't have the right tools. You know, he has the experience, so it'll be a little bit more of an in and out.
Yeah.
For that kind of stuff, I'm like, okay, it makes sense to have him do it. By the time I actually get the tools, invest the time, don't get the torque down right,
yeah,
I am going to make it even worse.
You miss one small clip and it's all toast.
Pretty much, yeah. So I mean, like a valve check, I actually had a good buddy of mine. His name is Jacob Brown. That kid is book smart out the wazoo. He has some good experience. He taught me how to do a valve check, so I appreciated that. But other things like the basic maintenance, like spark plugs, you know, chains, sprockets, I tend to do that myself.
Yeah. With a couple YouTube videos, you can figure most of that out.
Oh my God, yes. And the manual, people don't realize, like, the manual is a really good Bible for motorcycles.
Mm-hmm. So you just go with the basic OEM dealer manual, and that's pretty much good enough?
I'm not sure if it's the basic OEM dealer. I just download them. I mean, you can find anything online, and it has everything step by step. With the Honda, I replace an engine, just literally reading, replace a clutch basket, and a whole lot of other things. So the manual it has plenty of information, like the big 200+ page manual. Yeah. Not the little one they give you, like, hey, here you go. Here's like this 20-book page.
Yeah.
Fix your bike. Yeah.
Like how to turn on the bike and where the kill switch is.
Yeah.
And you said you're a race fan, so you've been watching different series like sports car or Formula One, things like that, World Superbike.
Yeah, so follow MotoGP just because it's great. You know, this year, well, last year and this year, we all know it has been different since you know, Marc Marquez has been out of the loop and he's just coming back. So it was really exciting to watch. World SBK, amazing. I started following World SBK on the last 2 years. And it was kind of boring because Jonathan Rea was just on top, right?
It's a Jonathan Rea show, but not anymore.
It was. Yeah, this year has just been amazing. And I'm actually just restarting to watch, not restarting, but started to watch the 600, the super sport class.
Oh yeah.
So I can actually just take notes, see some riding styles, and hopefully, you know, replicate some of the things that pros are doing.
Heck yeah. You know, I think it's underestimated how much you can learn from just watching the sport and just picking up what the broadcasters are saying, whether they're looking at body position or the new technology that's coming out or how they're riding or the braking styles. It's like, oh, wow, I could try to do that too, replicate that, make my body position look like theirs. I think it's really interesting. It's very helpful. And if you're watching the 600 class, look out for Dominique Agater.
Oh man,
I podcasted with him, and he became the world champion for this year. So I got a world champion on my podcast so far.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I'm watching him. I can't think of his name, but number 4 right now, Odendale, I think it is.
Yeah.
He was his biggest competition in the beginning. I'm only in round 3, just finishing up the Italy round. So I do know the outcome with Argody, right? But the racing is just, it's like watching a 300 class in the World Super Sport.
They're all so close together. It's like they're drafting and passing, just like the 400s are, the lightweight class. And it's bar banging action from start to finish.
It is, man. I'm realizing that. I mean, when I see what they do with their motorcycles, I'm like, oh man, I need to man up and just get some coconuts and just block pass.
You got to realize though that they've been doing that for a decade or longer at a professional level. You know, it's not like they just started last week.
True story.
And when they crash, they got a whole team usually ready to fix it for them.
Yeah,
it's a little bit different situation. Yeah.
Yeah, risk reward. So that to me is more of a, I don't want to get hurt too bad that I have to step away from the sport. You know, the fixing, you can do it. I mean, in hindsight, it's not that expensive. It hurts more emotionally and financially, but at the end of the day, nobody wants to crash.
No, it's part of it though. Have you been down a couple of times?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Well, I've been down on the streets and I've been down on the track. As you know, on the track, I mean, duct tape, some zip ties, and you're back out there.
Yeah.
So the first time I ever went down was actually in Gingerman Raceway.
Okay.
So I'm going to sympathize here with Jeff Olbery here, and me and that track just don't get along.
Where'd you go
down? It was turn 2. So it's a funny story. It was my I think I want to say my first or second year riding the track. It was my first year. So I did a handful of track days. By the end of the season, I got bumped up to I. And I put my bike away. I was like, yeah, I made it to I. Next year is going to be amazing.
For people who don't know, intermediate is, it goes novice, intermediate, advanced, usually for track days.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was sport bike track time. So I got bumped up to I, and I thought I was done for the season. Well, it turns out that I ran into Detroit's private track day in, I think, late September. And I was like, oh, there's one more track day. I quickly got my stuff together and I made it out there on the Monday. Well, lo and behold, I go out there and it was a small group. So they put novices in one group and then intermediate and advanced in their own group. So I was out there, you know, like when you get bumped from the novice group to the intermediate group, you're like, I made it.
That's a big difference.
Huge difference. And, you know, you just, your ego gets a little bloated here. Well, I was out there and I was like, oh, that guy's going fast. I can keep up with him. Well, kind of, right? Well, turn 2, first session, lap number 3. I was pushing with a guy who came off of warmers, you know, had experience, and just the front washed out and I tumbled.
Yeah.
My first thought was like, oh man, I hope nobody saw that. But a lot of people did. I went back out, duct taped the bike, and I was able to get back out there. The confidence was not there, of course. And by the end of the day, I was like, man, I just feel like my tires are not sticking. Well, when I put my bike away thinking I was done, I inflated my tires to like back to street pressures.
Oh,
that was
no,
my street bike. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really what it was. My tires were just cold, overinflated. I didn't do any of the normal checkups that I would do now back then.
And it sounds like you maybe weren't on warmers.
I was not. I mean, I was a novice guy, just bumped up to intermediate. So, I mean, that was new to me. I didn't even know that existed, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and that's how, unfortunately, you have to learn sometimes. You can learn from other people's mistakes, so you don't have to make those same ones. So hopefully people can learn from that. But, you know, I started without warmers. I didn't have stands. I had my kickstand on still, you know, and Yeah, overinflation of tires will get you falling down pretty quick. You got to check your tire pressures. I usually did it before every session and then after every session.
Right.
You're checking your tire pressure like 15, 20 times a day. And most people don't do that if they're just a track day person.
Well, it's funny nowadays I check my pressure in the morning when they're off warmers, and then I check them after session number 2, usually when I know I can put in some decent laps, and I make it a point to not check them again unless I'm really like getting some spinning on the rear or I'm losing the front, just so I don't get in my own head and start just, well, this PSI and that PSI. You know, if you wake up and it's 60 degrees and then by 2 o'clock is like 80 some or 90 degrees, that's a huge difference. So I will check again in the afternoon.
Sure.
I make it a point to just check twice or maybe 3 times.
Yeah.
Because I used to be like just tire pressure, and you just got in your own head.
Yeah, for sure. Everybody's got their own style and their own way of doing things. And so you've been doing most of the North Central region rounds. You still going down to Road Atlanta for the Cycle Jam?
I want to go. I had a few goals this year, right? Aside from racing, and that is visiting different tracks.
Yeah.
You know, so I've been to Wisconsin, Road America. I went actually down to Texas, you know, Circuit of the Americas, got to go down there as well.
Yeah.
And then I've been to ACC, in addition to the North Central places, which is Audubon Country Club down in Illinois. And I'm trying to think where else. Pit Race is just amazing.
Yeah.
And
You
I
did
actually
new configuration with extra loop down the south course. There used to be
Yeah.
just a north course.
I never did Pit Race before. I actually met you in Pit Race.
Oh yeah, many years ago, probably 2013.
No, it was
14?
No, it was this year. You were
this year, yeah.
You were working the flags. You were a corner worker. I know that for a
track
fact.
marshal.
Yep, in GNF. So we briefly say hi and next to the barbecue spot and whatnot.
Yeah, getting some food.
I mean, yeah, but you're famous, so I'm not. So I remember you. You won't remember me.
No, I do remember the interaction. We were eating some food. I think got some like a smoked brisket or something.
Yep, there you go. Yep, that one.
But yeah, man, that was a good time, and that was a great weather weekend. We didn't have any major downpours like the Barber event.
Yes.
But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I actually got on the broadcast at that event. I was working turn, was it? Forget the turn name.
Man, I think.
It was coming down the hill and going back up. There's a big right-hander down there, and Wyatt Ferris had crashed. He high-sided, and his bike caught on fire.
Oh yeah.
For the Moto America round, and yeah, it was nuts. The bike just was engulfed in flames in 2 seconds, and I was the first responder to that fire. And he was doing this motion like, "Give me the fire extinguisher," and he had his full suit on, so I just handed it to him, and then I can't do anything because I'm just watching the fire burn.
Right.
It's like, well, what do you do now?
Just wait for it to cook.
Just wait for it, and then we had another track marshal. He was running out with a second fire extinguisher. He used his full bottle, and it was. Both bottles are empty now, and we're just calling for race control. We need something bigger than this. We need a bigger boat.
Man, that must have been, and people don't realize when something's burning, it is hot. You can't just walk up to it and say, "Hey, let me put this out. Let me stomp on it." Like,
yeah, it's hundreds of degrees, and at a certain point, I'm wondering like how close should I be to this fire? Like, could something be exploding? Am I in danger trying to help this guy out?
Yeah. Everybody's brave until you're in that situation where you're like, what do I do?
Yeah, and it was I think it was near the start of the race, so the pack was fairly close together, so we didn't really have to worry about more bikes coming through. Okay. It was so we didn't really have to worry about that aspect. But anytime you're racing, you're on the side of the track, you're like, well, I got probably less than 45 seconds before another bike comes through here, or less if they're in the front of the pack, or they could be mid-race and now the whole pack is lapping each other, and there's no gaps. There might be 10-second gaps, and that's all you got. So you're always talking to race control, or they say, "Oh, you got a gap. You got 10 seconds here. Bike's at turn 1. You're at turn 4." You better move quick. Don't fall. Don't trip.
Oh yeah.
So, but I like it. It's being a track marshal is a way to give back to the racing community, and that way I would have never met you at the racetrack probably at Pittsburgh. So it's cool to be there and be a part of the community and making a little bit of money on the side. You know, it's not really a full-time paying job, but it's cool to help out.
Absolutely. I also see you're applying to be a marshal over at the F1 race in Miami.
Heck yeah. So I don't know if I'll be accepted, but I applied to the F1 GP 2022 in May. So it'd be, I think, the early May. And so I've never worked a Formula One or a car event, but I'd like to add that to my resume. You know, I have an opportunity to do IMSA as well, but IMSA doesn't pay, and Formula One doesn't pay either. So it's like, it'd be cool to do, but I don't know if I'm not going to keep doing that probably.
Okay. I mean, it's an experience, so you have to try at least, you know, once.
Yeah, see how they operate, because every organization is different. I've done CCS, WERA, and Moto America so far. I'll be doing ARMA in a couple of weeks with at Daytona for the Vintage Fest.
Oh, yeah.
So every organization is different, and every racetrack is a different company. So they're all very different. I hear like Autobahn, people don't like to work at Autobahn as a corner worker because they just are really, I don't know. I've never worked there, so I can't really say, but that's what I've heard. There's, you know, rumors and gossip, and it's the whole 9 yards going all these different places. But it's cool to see how they operate, and the behind the scenes of things. The radio communication is always so interesting. You get to hear like who's screwing up, like, oh, rider so-and-so is on and off again. Rider so-and-so off in turn 3, back on, you know, or cut the blend line, or made a dangerous pass in turn 3. You know, we report all that stuff and we tell race control, so they make the decision. We just say what happens, you know.
Funny you say that. I actually got from one of my races in which Eric and I actually were dicing it out a little. I asked for the raw audio of we had, I think Chris Miller is his name. He was
Charles Miller, yeah.
Yeah. So he was being the commentator, and I think he did a great job, right? So I'm like, hey man, can I get the audio? And he was like, absolutely. And he did mention in his email, hey, just so you know, don't share some of the background stuff. And the audio was really raw. So I mean, I got to hear a little bit of the conversation, and I was like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, sometimes it's pretty funny. Like there's always a problem child. It might not actually be a child, but there's always a problem person at the track who's like doing things wrong, or maybe they're brand new. Like we had somebody brand new. I don't even remember who it was to mention them, but a brand new racer, first time out, young kid at Blackhawk, and that was my first corner working event. And this kid, he stopped on the track a couple times, like didn't quite understand the right procedures. I think there was a red flag and he kept going, like just didn't understand the right things to do. And so we talked to, I didn't talk to him, but race control talked to him a couple different times, like not angry with him, but like just, you got to explain what to do and what not to do. And there's safety things that you cannot stop on the racetrack. It's not okay.
Was that a racer?
It was a racer. It was a new racer just starting out, like lightweight class or something. But
yeah, that can get a little, yeah, it can get dicey.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but hey, it's part of the sport, you know. I mean, as long as he's somebody that you can approach and tell him, hey man, you don't stop on a red flag, you actually kind of like keep going.
Yeah.
And they take it, you know, the right way. It's all good, right? Nobody knows everything. So
it's a learning environment. It's a teaching moment.
It is. I mean, at the end of the day, it's you want somebody who's coachable, you know, receptive of what you're telling them. You never want to get the super pro guy who's like, oh man, I knew that, I just didn't want to keep going or whatever.
Right. Yeah. You got to be coachable as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, well, what's been on your mind, man? Anything you wanted to talk about?
No, just getting ready for next season. You know, like I said, I'm doing a lot of homework and trying to learn a few things. I'm getting bumped up to experts, so that's going to be different on its own. The main thing that I actually got to figure out is, how do I qualify and do good? I'm not a good qualifier at all. Like
for
unless
one lap pace.
yeah, unless it's the actual race, I'm not really like, let's go gung ho. You know, I tried that once and it didn't really work out for me. So I actually heard this podcast from I forget who the person was, but it was Eddie Kraft who was in the podcast.
Yeah.
He was, so I work with Joe Kraft out of Wishcraft Motorsport, right? And somebody recommended that podcast.
Probably Raceline Ministry.
You know what? Yeah, it might have been.
With
yeah.
Mark Miracle.
Yep, met Mark. Amazing guy. Amazing guy. But in the podcast, Eddie's saying that you just go when you go out on a practice section. You know, when it's practice time, go like it's the race. So when it's actual race time, you know, the disparity between your practice times and your actual race time is not that different. You have a good perspective. Well, I tried that at Nelson Ledges this year.
Yeah.
I went out there. I mean, it was just my first weekend there. So I did it Friday. So I was doing all right. I was running like 13s for my first time, 12s, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Well, when I went in practice, I was running 10s. So I dropped like 3 seconds, right? So, I mean, I was just gone ho. Well, not everybody heard that podcast, I guess. And it came on the carousel. I just came up too fast on somebody who was literally just closing their throttle and off I went. I fixated. It was my mistake. I probably could have slowed down, tipped it in a little bit more, whatever. You find all the solutions after the crash.
Yeah.
Well, I went off and I was like, man, if I would have not gone, you know, that fast on my first practice sections, you know, like I would have been okay. So I got to work on that. Just when it's the first practice, go get warmed up. Second practice, just go. There's this guy that's really, really good in qualifying. His name is Foster Wagner Summer, I think. I'm not sure how to say his name.
Yeah.
But he always does good when it's practice time, right? Even on the track day, he does amazing. You know, he's and I don't sandbag, but I'm not as good as he is from the get-go. You know, and in this past Grattan round, he was like, oh man, I'm going a little faster than you. And I'm like, oh man, you are. I'm like, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, when the race came, you know, luckily my pace was significantly faster than my practice time. You know, I was a little bit more consistent. He was on my ass. But regardless, I'm like, man, he's going to get bumped up. I'm going to get bumped up. I can't be starting behind him all the time because if he's consistent and I'm consistent, he's going to win it.
For sure. You know, and what's interesting about WERA is that as far as I'm aware, in the expert class for regionals, they don't actually do qualifying. So you don't have to qualify for your starting position. That's based on your points for the region. So unless you're doing like a national 600 super stock, that's, I think, the only qualifying that they do.
Well, I think they might have changed that this year because I know a lot of people were qualifying this year, and it was not the only national races that I went to were pit race, I think. And they did it in Nelson's that it had to be based on qualifying, and they did it at Grattan as well. So
well, that's cool. I like that they changed it because before it didn't really matter what practice times you did when I was racing there. Yeah. So it's nice that they maybe changed it up a little bit.
Yeah, for novice, I know it's points. At the end of the day, it's all points. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool. That way you can actually start based on your times instead of starting from the back of the grid if you have no points for the region.
I'm not sure how I feel about it, honestly, but yeah. Because I would do more rounds than some people, and I was like, yes, I'm starting from the front regardless of my time. So yeah, gotta get used to it.
It's different. Yeah, this way I guess it makes it more like professional racing in that you have to qualify for your starting position. Do you know if there's any cutoff time?
Cutoff time as in
like 100 in pro racing, I think is 107% for some classes or 110% of the fastest lap.
Got it. Yeah, I think you have to be within a certain pace. So not that I'm aware of, I mean, it's regional racing. So you're gonna have guys who've never been to a track. I put myself, for example, in that role. I mean, I did fairly well whenever I went to a new track. I was able to catch up. I have good enough experience, enough track time that I got up to pace. But I mean, this year I was passing expert guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you had that cutoff time, I don't think you have as many racers as you currently have. A lot of people who are new to the track will be disqualified. So I'm happy that we don't have it right now.
Yeah, I think that's good for amateur racing. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I just talked to a guy, Dustin Coiner of Track Days, DAZ, and
Okay.
he's a track day owner, organizer, scheduler, and member of the CRA as well, racing organization out of the West Coast there. And he was mentioning that they are going to be racing amateur race at Laguna Seca this year for the first time in like 40 years. So he invited me out there to go race with them, but I don't know if it sounds like an awesome opportunity, but I had to get a flight and rent a bike out there, and might be expensive, but it sounds like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Hey man, that's how I ended up in Texas.
Oh,
I went to see the MotoGP race, and then got to ride that track on the Monday, the Aprilia day, and I mean, it was just mind blowing. Like just to be able to ride the same track as the professionals. Like, and funny enough, I was like, oh, this is the bumps that we're complaining about, right?
Yeah, you can feel them.
And I'm not even going a quarter of the speed that they're probably going, but you can still feel them. But just to be able to understand what they're saying and feel it,
yeah,
is you can connect a little bit more with the sport. So I mean, if you get a chance to go to Laguna, I mean,
it's legends have raced there, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, it could be probably a couple $100 to rent a bike. I don't know. I want to talk to the company who rents bikes on here and get a little bit more information about that. I think it's Feel Like a Pro. They have like a fleet of bikes you can just rent out for track days and racing. It sounds like it's a little bit cheaper than buying a $10,000 bike and getting a trailer. I have a trailer, but driving it all the way out there with the gas and the travel expense might be about the same as flying out there.
More than that, it's literally just tolling your body, man. It's a long drive.
Yeah, that's I don't even know how many hours of driving that would be.
Too many.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. So you got plans for this year coming up? What's your plans? You're gonna do all the North Central rounds this year, your hope?
Yeah, that's the hope. So as you can see here, I got this sponsor, MC Power Sports. Part of the plan is just seeing what I need this season. That's key in any racing. You got to have a budget. You got to figure out what do you need: tires, spare parts. How do they want you to promote them? If they're still in it, which luckily they are. As far as the rounds, definitely I want to do every single round. That to me is just there's something about racing for me that it fills my heart. Like I'm on the track almost every single weekend, and doing track days because I coach as well. But racing is just racing. You're out there. It's a competitive environment, but at the end of the day, you're all friends and you're talking about, man, I almost got you, or how late are you braking, and you talk about lines and you keep improving. So I'm doing all of those rounds for sure. Trying to hit maybe 1 or 2 new tracks.
Okay.
This year. NCM is one of them. I really want to do that one, and I want to do Putnam.
Okay, Putnam. Yeah, that'd be a good one. And so shooting for any championships?
Always, man.
Which classes are you competing in? Just 600s? Do you do 750s or 1000s too with that 600?
Yeah, so I hope I'm not offending anybody by saying this, but I think if you do the C Superbike, C Super Stock, you're really pushing yourself to measure yourself against other fast riders, because that is just the class that you're going to have some of the most experience and faster guys. A 750 class, is literally everybody in the 600. You don't see a lot of people with 750s anymore.
Very few, yeah.
So I mean, it's literally people who may not feel comfortable with the C Super Bike class or Super Stock, and they just say, well, the 750, there isn't that many people, or it's newer people.
Yeah.
But my goal is C Superbike, C Super Stock, and B Super Stock.
Okay.
I know I can join the 1,000 classes, but at that point, I'm not measuring myself against people who are in the same boat as me. although I might join one of those races just to get, you know, some seat time in some tracks.
Sure. When I was first starting, I did all 6 of them for a long time, every weekend, and double headers, do 12, you know. Oof. And that's a lot of racing, man. By the end of that, you are exhausted. And I found that there was actually one more I could have done. I could have done the Formula One, but I decided not to. 7 was too many, but 6 was fine.
Yeah,
and,
it's doable, but it's a lot, right? I mean, if you have a pit crew, I'm not sure if you had anybody helping you at that time.
I mean, just a friend here and there with stands and tire warmers, maybe a change of tire here and there, but that's about it.
That's a lot of help, believe it or not. So
yeah.
But yeah, that's a lot of racing, man. So no wonder you got so fast so quick.
Yeah, my thought was, you know, I know I didn't have the right bike to compete with them. I was on one bike. It was a stock 600 for all classes. I didn't have multiple bikes I was racing, but for me, I was racing against guys like Eddie, who had been racing for 10, 15 years at an expert level. I'm like, well, how the hell am I going to catch up to him? Well, if I do 6 races or 12 races a weekend and he does 2, you know, I got 6 times the amount of race seat time under my belt that I'm accumulating quicker. So I found, you know, by the end of my races on Sunday, I was just so exhausted. I couldn't ride the way I was riding on Friday. And you had to ride differently and use different muscle groups. And I found that was really the way I was supposed to be riding in the first place. So I changed my body style and riding style because I was exhausted. I realized that was the right way to do it.
It's incredible what you can, how much less fatigued you are if you use the right muscles and you put your body the right way. I remember one race that I was texting Joe Crap. You know, he's really responsive via text. You know, I was like, you know, he'll message me proactively. He'll be like, hey, how's it going? Are you ready? And I'm like, man, I just did this. I'm feeling this, right? And I was feeling a lot of vibration on the front, and my rear was just picking up. And I told him, I was like, I just feel like the bike is it's not turning. You know, I feel too much vibrations. And he was like, are you bending your elbows? I'm like, I don't know, Joe. I mean, I would assume that I am. He's like, go out, bend your elbows. That was all that it took. And my vibration went away. My bike was turning a lot more, you know. And it's not like this is something that I know, right? This is something that I preach. But sometimes you just need that reminder. Hey, man, body position, bend your elbows, just relax, look up. And it changes, you know, how much better your riding is, how much less fatigued you are, and things just go smooth.
Oh yeah, so, I would highly recommend to get your suspension set up one time, get it all refreshed, get everything, you know, set up for your weight and your application, whether you're expert, professional, or novice, whatever your speed is, and then don't touch it again for a while. Just go out and ride the bike and focus on you, because that's what I did for many years. Joe actually was my suspension guy for the last couple rounds and last couple years, I think 2014 and 15. And one round at Pittsburgh at the old configuration, I dropped like 1.5 seconds from just a couple turns of what he told me to do. And I was blown away by how much it helped. But, you know, sometimes you can make these tiny changes and it really does help. But I think most people in novice and expert racing can just work on their own riding style and their body position and their line choice and how hard they're grabbing the brakes or getting on the throttle. And how smooth you are is a big factor, more so than your suspension tuning. People get too in their head about the suspension tuning and forget about the fundamentals.
Yeah, you know, when it comes to suspension, I will always say, you know, you will know when you need suspension, because your bike is going to be bent out of shape. You're going to be like, holy crap, am I riding a Bronco? Like, you will feel it, right? Your speed will eventually catch up with your lack of suspension. So for me, I was riding, I got bumped up through the groups, and I didn't get suspension till I was in the advanced group. You know, prior to that, I was just riding the bike, and I would hear people talking about suspension, but never got it. Eventually, I got the suspension, and I was like, holy cannolis. Like, I felt it, but I still didn't feel it the way I was supposed to. I remember when I was working with a person prior to Joe, and prior to that, this person would ask me, hey, what are you feeling out there? And I'm like, well, bike turns, that's about it, right? And I didn't get it. Well, lo and behold, I actually joined racing, where I, you drop like 3 to 4 seconds in your first race weekend, depending where you're at. And I actually felt my rear spinning. I felt my rear coming up, my front just sliding. Now, when I got the question again, I'm like, I'm feeling this, and this, and like, it's an overload of information that you're giving out. So now when you're seeing the pros talk about it, I'm like, oh, this is what they mean when they're like this, and blah, like, you get it, right? And now I'm like, okay, now that I'm feeling this and it's making me uncomfortable, we were able to make changes. And that's how I landed with Joe and how he impressed me, right? I was having some issues. Both of my tires were off and I was getting some new rubber. And he was working with John Hawkins, right? So amazing guy. And I was like, hey man, do you mind if I ask you a couple of questions? John has mentioned you. And Joe was like, sure. He came over to my pit and he told me, so what are you feeling? Well, don't you want to see my tires? And he's like, nope. What are you feeling? I tell him, hey, over the hump, I'm feeling this, or actually no, it's turn 4 in Grattan Raceway. Here's what I'm feeling. And here's what I'm feeling out of 10B, which is, he's like, well, they're completely opposite things. And if I fix 4, I'm messing up 10B. If I fix 10B, I'm messing up 4. He just scratched his chin, looked at it. He did 2 clicks on my front and like 1 click on the rear. Super simple, or like a couple of clicks.
Yeah.
No tires, no nothing. And it was like butter the next day. So I was like, okay, you're I'll work with you from now on. So
for sure. It's just, he's been doing it for so long and his son has been doing it for so long. Their wealth of knowledge is great to have. It's such a great resource. I actually talked to him yesterday. We had a toast to Todd Thomas funeral over at Shelby Township. And there's a great gathering there, man. Like almost 200 people, I want to say, were there, and just a lot of love for him and the community. And but yeah, it was good to see Joe and a lot of other people there to commemorate his life and what his legacy. With Sport Bike Track Time, he was one of the co-founders, and been around the track for a long time.
Heard great things about him. I want to say we might have crossed paths. I've been riding with Sport Bike Track Time for as long as I've been on the track, of course, a little over, I want to say 6 years, maybe. Been coaching with him going into my second, 2 years. So, I mean, what I'm hearing from, other individuals, whether you're a student or a staff member, is that he was just an amazing guy. So it's sad to see the good people go, but, that's life, is nature, and hopefully he's riding in heaven.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and now racing's kind of done for the year. All the series are over. It's like, what are we going to go watch on TV now? How are we going to go entertain ourselves?
Well, I mean, my weekends, I literally in the summer, I had every single weekend booked. I was at a track or, doing something with the family. And I mean, I'm now just catching up with the racing, to be honest.
Going back and watching the old rounds.
Yeah. So, I'm doing the super sport class, the 600, just because it's again, what I'm doing my homework on. I could watch Moto 2 all over again, but I don't have a Moto 2 bike, so
yeah,
I'm going to stick to the 600s, and I usually watch a race per cycling day. So I know you're big into road bikes, and again, we follow each other on Instagram, so you can see my posts of World SBK and then my bike. And that's what I'm doing. Every time I watch a race, I just start pedaling from the beginning to the end of the race. And that's how I'm getting my workout in while I'm doing my homework.
Yeah, it's I thought about this a long time ago, and it still sticks with me. Every time you're watching a sporting event and you're sitting on the couch, they're getting better while you're getting fatter, right? So I'm like, yeah, I should be working out while I'm watching this. So I got rollers right over here, actually, right next to me. I got some Cyclops aluminum rollers, and then I just put it in my bedroom, actually. And then right next to I got a wall on one side, and then I got a bed on the other. So if I go either way, I'm not going to fall.
There you go.
Because my TV is like offset. So if I'm looking at it, it's like I'm looking to the side, and then you forget where you're going.
You go where you look. You go where you look. So that's very true.
Yeah. And you're a big rider. Are you? About how many miles do you do annually?
So I don't know. That's it's hard to say. This past summer again, I didn't ride my road bike as much, but like when I have the ability to do it, I do a ride every year that is 50 miles, and I go down to Columbus, Ohio, and I do that through my company is to raise funds for cancer research.
Yeah.
So I know for sure I do 50 miles one day. Other than that, I do about 14 miles at least 3 times a week.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not bad. You know, it's not consistent every single week, but when I do ride, it's, you know, like a week on and then 2 weeks off for whatever reason, and then back at it consistently.
Yeah.
I've never done the math, but 14 miles is like I have a specific loop that I do, and that just works great for me.
Yeah, I mean, I like to do a lot of cycling myself. This is actually one of the first years I haven't hit 1,000 miles.
Wow.
I usually do at least 1,000 miles of cycling and running combined every year or more since probably about 2012 or 2013. So for the last few years, I've been pretty steady with that. But I fell off this year because I've been doing so much corner working and track marshaling. You know, I would usually do a lot of my riding on the weekends, and now I'm at the racetrack working, so that kind of cut down my riding time quite a bit. That's my excuse. But
That's
also,
really what it is. It's an excuse.
It's an excuse, for sure it is. But I've been still staying fit. I've been doing a lot of hot yoga. I actually just looked on my account a couple days ago. I've been doing over 120 the last couple of years, 120, 60 to 90-minute hot yoga sessions. So it's like 105 degrees in there. And you're just standing on a mat, but my heart rate is 180 beats per minute at one point during the standing series, because you're like doing a standing leg, foot out while you're standing. It's like this is ridiculous.
It's funny you say that, because I have a couple of friends who are actual yoga instructors and whatnot, and they always joke, it's like, hey, try this pose. I guess they're playing a joke on me just to see if I can do it.
Yeah.
And it is hard, man. Like, yoga is amazing for stability and just stamina.
For
you
sure.
can make fun of a yoga person all you want, but they will kick your butt when it comes to stamina.
Oh yeah, and one of the reasons I do it is because, you know, the heat work. If you can, if you're going to be racing in a hot leather suit in the middle of summer in Florida, you better be prepared for that heat wise. So you gotta just condition your mind. A lot of it's the mental side of it, because I want to get out of that room. Like, I can't, my heart's racing, my mind's racing. You got that monkey mind going on, but you gotta just power through it. You gotta put it away and just focus on what you're doing, and just get rid of the distractions sometimes. So
yeah,
like
it's funny you say that, because I remember the first weekend I ever raced is different, and I just almost puked inside of my helmet.
It's so hot, just the overwhelming heat.
No, it was just you're not used to going in a track day. You go, and if you're like, I'm tired, you slow down, and you're never just going. But on a race, you have adrenaline, you're just going. You're a little bit more tense, and on the cool down lap when the race was over, I was like, oh my God, I'm about to puke, or you know. But yeah, but now after I've done some cycling, so I was usually around 215 pounds. You know, 5'10", used to be 5, I'm 5'10", used to be around 210. I was I was all right in terms of being fit, but it was still a lot of weight.
Yeah,
you know, and then I started as a joke with some coworkers. They were doing Weight Watchers, and they were doing the whole point thing. I was like, oh, well, I want to be part of the group, but I'm not paying for it. So tell me what you guys do and I'll join. Like, I'll hang out with you. I was miserable for the first couple of weeks. They would show up with like 4 points, and I would be all proud and like, oh, how many points do I have? And they're like 15. Well, even as a joke, I was still cutting down my portions, and I managed to drop down to like 175, 180.
Okay.
I was cycling, eating healthier, less junk food, and just you know, eating dinner a little bit earlier. So everybody thought I was dying or something because I shaved a few pounds. But when it came to racing, holy crap, my stamina was there. I was not tired. I got faster. There's less weight for you to carry on the bike. But it was the stamina, man. So yoga, cycling, things like that is actually what I do versus, heavy lifting now.
For sure. I probably should do more weightlifting, but I do very little weightlifting because you don't really need to do tons of squats to ride a motorcycle. I mean, maybe it helps with your stamina for your legs, but my thing is always tons of cardio, yoga, and I just started doing Orange Theory. I've been doing it a little bit for a while. I don't know if you're familiar, but it's like
No.
Orange Theory's I guess it's a franchise. They're popping up all over the place. Like a studio that you go to, and it's not heated. It's actually pretty cool in there because you start to sweat really quick. But it's a high intensity interval based training. They don't sponsor me at all. I just like to go there. I do 4 classes a month, and there's a running, or if you don't want to run, there's cycling. There's a cycling machine in there, and then rowing, and then there's a weight section. So it's a group-based class. So you got maybe 30 people in there or more, and they give you a heart rate monitor you wear on your arm, so you can see your heart rate on the screen next to everybody else's. So it's like
you guys racing for?
It's kind of competitive. They give you points. Like their whole theory is that if you're in the top 2 heart rate zones, orange and red, zone 4 and 5, that you get the best bang for your buck. So if you're in those zones the longest period of time, then you get more points, which is kind of like, I don't know if that's the best way to do it, because if you're just really out of shape, you'd be in those zones anyways, right? Because you don't have good stamina. And it kind of, I mean, I don't try to mess with the data, but you could have like a pre-workout beforehand and your heart rate spiked. So, but I look at it as like, I'm just going to work my hardest and see if I can get it up there at the longest.
Maybe you're paying for it. I'm sure there's an ultimate goal. So you don't want to manipulate the data and then not get your money's worth. So you hope, right?
For sure. And actually, I don't even use that wristband anymore because you got to buy that. I just have my own, fitness watch. So I just do it on my own. But mostly everybody else has it up on the screen. And it's kind of nice to look at, see where you're at with the whole, the rest of the group, because you can see some people are in the red, some people are still in the green,
Oh, yeah.
Everybody goes to their own pace. There's people who just walk, or people who are sprinting at their fastest 12 miles an hour. It's like, this guy's going for it. Yeah, I like the rowing aspect. That's something I haven't been doing a lot of, and it's a good kind of all body workout. You get your back, your legs, your neck, your arms, a little bit of everything.
Okay.
So been doing that. So I got usually 2 or 3 fitness classes a week, and then I've been trying to just do stuff on my own here. But I really do like the yoga for me, because you do a lot of over your head motions, like where you're doing this. And with me having dislocated both shoulders multiple times, it's good workouts that I wouldn't normally do on my own.
Yeah, those are great. I actually tore my rotator cuff twice. One, it was snowboarding, and the other one was a crash at Road America. So for me, I do have like the mobility, but it hurts like after a certain point. And then when you're racing and you're putting a lot of stress on your shoulder, like I feel it.
Yeah.
And it gets better. I have this weird routine that I just do 20 push-ups every night, and I'll never forget how bad it was when I first started after my tear. But now the more you do it, the better it gets.
Yeah.
I can only imagine if I actually like stretch out more often, how much better it would be. But yeah, mobility is huge in the sport. I mean, if you don't have it, and people always make fun of the guy who's stretching on the track day. Not on a race day, because all racers kind of like, you get it, you need to stretch. But on the track day, they're like, oh, what's that guy? He's not even that old. I'm like,
it's not about being old.
Yeah, it's about knowing what's in store if you don't stretch.
Yeah,
I've tore a hamstring before. After that, I'm like, I am not running without doing my stretches.
Yeah, and my dad's complaining, oh, my legs hurt. I'm like, did you stretch? No. Well, I don't feel bad then.
Right, that's for sure.
for sure. But you know, sometimes you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Man, tell me about it. Tell me about it. But yeah, no, I mean, I get my my cardio and my stretching in here and there. You know, I got a beautiful family. I got two young boys and a wife. So the first thing when I get home, my oldest, he just like, Tag, you're right. And I'm like, crap. And then I just got to chase him. So
Yeah,
that's usually how I'm getting my cardio in here and
chasing
there.
the kids around.
Yeah, mobilities and whatnot. So it's good. It's not bad.
So how's the family? Tell me about your home life a little bit.
Great. You know, wife is awesome. She actually fixes stuff around the house. Most people on the track know her because we do go to track days and racing together. So that's pretty awesome.
Pretty supportive.
Uh,
Pretty supportive.
Too supportive, man. Like sometimes I tell her, I was like, do not support me in buying this. I do not need more parts. So she's great. You know, she's all in for what I like. Is great to see my my oldest boy also have, you know, create friendships on the racetrack. So that's pretty cool. So that makes it even more special whenever we're doing a track day. On race days, I'll be honest, it's distracting having the family there.
Yeah.
But I just tell her, I was like, just get out the way, and I just move my my canopy a little bit down. And then my youngest, you know, he's just the boss. You know, he hangs around all day.
That's good. And I saw one of your kids learn how to ride a bike recently, something like that, on Instagram.
Oh yeah, so it wasn't recent, and it was and this is another reason why I love the track, right? Because he has his friend, his little friends of his. His name is Sebastian, right? They we we usually pit next to each other whenever we're at a track day, and whatever he does, he wants to do, right? So I was trying to get my kiddo to ride a bike forever, a balancing bike to begin with. He was like, I don't like that one. I like the trike, you know, because obviously it's more stable.
Easier, right?
Yeah. Well, lo and behold, right? One day his buddy's riding a trike on the track, and not a trike, but a balancing bike. He picks it up and he does it. And then I've been trying to get him to ride a bicycle. Lo and behold, he doesn't get it, right? And one day I'm at the track setting up, and I'm like freaking out because he was like near me and he wasn't. I'm like, hey, where does, you know, so and so go? I'm asking my wife, where is he at? And she's like, he's riding a bike. I'm like, what do you mean? He doesn't know how to ride a bike.
Yeah.
He's like, nope. He says, hey, I'm gonna go ride a bike with Sebastian, my friend. And his name is Caleb. And I'm like, Caleb doesn't know how to ride a bike. He's probably falling head first somewhere.
Yeah.
Nope. He comes around the corner and I'm like every typical dad, get your phone out. Like, you know, like, so yeah, man, he learned to ride the bike on the track. He didn't even include me after all my efforts. And it was just a beautiful sight, man. So
that's great to see, you know, someone able to share your passion.
Yeah, you know, and it's funny because as a parent, I don't know, you know, some people you want your kid to like what you like, but at the same time you're like, oh man, if you crash, it doesn't settle the same. Like if I crash, I'm like, whatever, you know. Seeing your kid crash, which he has on his bikes, it's a little bit different. I like that he likes it. I just got to make sure he's wearing his gear all the time.
For sure, yeah, that's the savior. You know, I've crashed myself a dozen times on the track, but never had a cut or an abrasion because of all the gear. I mean,
yeah,
as long as you don't hit something, you're pretty much going to be all right.
Well, if you hit something, you could be all right. I actually got an exhaust right on the top of the helmet once in Audubon. Somebody lost it.
Oh man,
it was a very expensive exhaust. That's what somebody told me, but somebody rode over the exhaust and they broke it in half, and then it came like the long way, and it actually carved a hole in the top of my helmet.
Jeez.
When it hit me, I literally saw little stars for a hot second.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't pass out, don't pass out. And then when I was like, okay, I'm feeling okay, I was like, how the pros do this. And I just kept riding.
Yeah.
When I came back in and I was, you know, ready for my for the next time that I needed to go out, and I was like what the heck? You can actually put your finger through it.
Oh man.
So definitely wear your gear, because that thing, if it would have hit me anywhere else, or I would have not had a gear, I would have been gone, you know.
For
So
sure.
but yeah, if something hits you, you can still do all right.
For sure. And just don't hit anything else if you can. Those stationary objects.
I hit a bird once, so that something else.
Oh man. Yeah, there was one time I got it on film. There was a Black Hawk was swooped down on the track at Black Hawk Farms, and I almost hit it with my bike. He swooped up right as soon as I was flying on the main straightaway. It was a close one.
That's scary, man. That's scary. Same thing for turtles, you know, a gratin, you get that, and you get other animals, but they make it a point, don't kick the turtles because they will slice you open. Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah. Their turtle shell is pretty hard at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, anything really, even the wind.
Definitely. So where can people find you online? You're on Instagram?
I am on Instagram. Is my last name, which is Herrera, HERRERA_EN. You can follow me on there. I don't post as much as most famous people. You know, I just put stuff about, you know, bike life, if you want to call it that, and just whatever I find hilarious at the time. So that's where I'm at.
For sure. Are you a video creator? Are you on YouTube?
I am on YouTube, and I'm not a video creator. I now upload raw data just for me to be able to go back, watch it, have the memories. I tried the whole YouTube studio, but it takes time, man. So like what you do with editing the podcast or videos, it's amazing because it's not as easy as people think. So
well, thank you.
There's a lot into it.
Yeah, it's a work in progress, but you know, I don't do a ton of editing. I throw in the quick animation in the beginning, copy and paste it, put it at the end, and then I cut out like the first few seconds when we're logging on, and then at the end just the dead time. So that's really all that I edit, and maybe if there's a bathroom break or something.
Yeah.
But I just keep it raw. But even that, you know, you still got to render the video. You got to make an MP4 file for YouTube. You got to make a wave audio and then convert it into an MP3 at a lower resolution so it can be uploaded to Anchor. And then from Anchor, it goes to Spotify and Stitcher and Deezer and Apple iTunes and all the other ones. Maybe Pandora. I'm not sure if it's on Pandora. But
that's why I'm not a content creator as of right now.
and then I got to take the video, the long video, and splice it into two parts for Instagram TV and put that into a 720p, so it's a lower quality, and then upload that one. So you got to upload, and then I make a photo post with all the photos just on Instagram, and that goes to Facebook too. So it's like 6 posts for one podcast.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a lot of work, you know, so got my time pretty occupied a little bit with work, family, you know, writing. Now I should probably create some content.
Well, you'll be on YouTube with this anyway, so.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, I'm just trying to help promote people and, you know, get people interested in the sport. Hopefully some people are still watching by now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, like I remember being a first-time track rider and racer, you know, the main thing we got to do is actually just tell people, come on, like I'll help you, pit with me. I'll just don't let it scare you. You know, I always bring people from the street riding because I still do some level of street riding. I'm like, I'll give you the gear, like not give it to you, but like I'll loan you the gear. We'll find somebody. We have a group here in West Michigan, which is called Team Kinda Fast. That is, it's just a forum where a lot of people go in and just say, hey, we have a new person. We need to gather, you know, here are his or her measurements. Let's gather some gear and get him on track. And as Sport Bike Track Time is kind enough that they usually give you the first day for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, yeah, so I'm not sure if they're still consistent with that practice, but I want to say yes. And hey, just get your first dose right there. When it goes to racing, it can be a little bit more intimidating. And usually what I say is just come out, watch, or let's spend a weekend and I'll just walk you through the whole process, you know, and then join. Like whatever you need, I will wake up with you. I will go to registration with you. And Ware has a really nice program. I mean, if you bring in a racer, they give you I think it's a $50 credit. So there is a reward for you to, for you to bring more people in with the additional reward of a racer is always going to be safer on a track day or any other scenario. When I bring people into racing, when they go back on track, I feel comfortable with that person being next to me or passing that person. They won't freak out. They get it. They got faster, better technique. We have more open conversations about how we can improve versus I'm an A, I don't need to talk to you. Or I'm a novice, I'm intimidated to talk to you.
Right. It's such a different mentality when you become a racer and you go back to track days. It's like you've seen the light and you came back and you're better for it.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because when I first got bumped to the advanced group, I thought it was a race. And I'll never forget when I went out there and I was like, just gotta go. And one of my strongest suits is braking. And I was just trying to stuff people, not trying intentionally, but I was just like getting in the way of people. And I almost T-boned a couple of people because I was going so fast and people were just, hey, I don't need to go full speed on this turn. So, and then when I made it to racing where you can actually go fast, you realize like, buddy, you weren't going fast,
Yeah.
Now we're all going fast. And then going back to track days, I'm so much more respectful, and I make it a point not to scare people, and and I tell myself it's not a race. And it was different in pit race though. I have this quick story here for you. I'm not sure what your time frame looks like, but
we got time.
In pit race, it's a different org that I went to ride with. It was N2 track days.
Yeah.
So I have been racing for 3 years, give and take, right? And then this year is my first time at pit race. Went there in April, and their rules are a little bit different. You have to start either a novice or ride them, prove that you're experienced enough to get bumped to I made it to It was great. Worked with some coaches. It was a good weekend. The following time that I was there, it was for a race, and I'm like, man, I need to get bumped up so I can go fast. And it only took me a weekend to be able to run, head of the pack in I'm like, okay, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And I told one of the coaches was following me because I asked him to, and he was like, oh man, you got to work on your passing. I'm like, this is I thought I was supposed to like be respectful, that's all. He's like, no, if you work on your passing, you'll be okay. I'm like, got it. So that was the only time that I was not respectful at passing after I went back out.
Yeah.
And it was just, I actually ended up losing the instructor, because obviously I was just making race passes.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, I saw some people like stand up, and I looked back a couple of times, and it was not welcome.
Right.
So definitely don't like doing passes like that, but that's the only time that I was a little bit racy on a track day.
Sure. Everybody gets in that zone sometimes, like I'll get by them. I did a Jason DeSalvo Speed Academy at Barber a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. And at one point their instructors couldn't keep up with me. And so Jason had to go out and follow me himself. And that was kind of a surreal moment when, their expert instructors couldn't follow. But hey, what's going on?
This is Caleb.
How's it going? Friend? Nice to meet you. So yeah, it's just it's cool to go out there and get that stuff on video. And I think I had that on YouTube somewhere. I must have passed like 12 guys a lap. But wow. It's a track day. So it's different. I'm not trying to pass everybody. I'm just trying to do my lap, and they're in my way, so I gotta get by them.
True. I mean, as long as you have it in your head, like, here's where I'm at. It's a track day, and here's the race.
Yeah,
it's great because in a race, I would people would usually tell us like, oh, that was a close pass. I'm like, hey, but we're both up. Luckily, I'm sorry but it's racing.
Yeah. I feel proud that I've never made anybody actually crash from any contact that was made. Nobody's ever gone down. It's that everybody always kept it up. One time, I'll tell you a story of my worst start ever. I dropped the clutch on the start, and I stalled my bike way before the flag was even coming. but it was too close to the flag to where I put my hand up, and then the flag went, you know. So expert field goes by. This is at Grattan going counterclockwise. In a stock 1000 race, I think it was, on a 600, novice field goes by me, and then I go, right? I don't think it was a two-way race. I think it was just all one, and but with a gap. And so I'm just stuck on the grid. The whole field went by me, and I ended up, it was an 8-lap sprint race. So not a whole lot of time to come through, but it wasn't a huge grid, maybe, I don't know, 20, 25 people max. And I had passed every single person leading out of the last turn, but I think it was Eric Smith. Well, he didn't draft me. He motored me to the line and got first place, and I got second place with, I think, Steve Palella right behind me on 1000. So, but man, right after that race, one of the novice dads came up to me, and he wasn't mad at all. He was actually pretty excited. He was like, "You passed my son so fast." He said he shit his pants when he came by, man. You didn't do anything wrong, but he was like, "That was so close and so fast." He was like, "Wow." He was like, "Thank you," almost.
Yeah, my closest pass that I scared myself was at Grattan Raceway, going clockwise, between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
That's right over the hump.
Yeah.
That's a really fast, I think in one of your podcasts, you mentioned how you came in the inside of Rick Land, yeah. So it was actually on the switchback that I passed somebody, and that gets really tight really quick.
All right.
Hey, welcome back.
Sorry about that, man.
That's fine.
I don't know if my computer or my Wi-Fi went out, but I think I'm back now.
Okay.
And all right. We're back. So
yeah.
Sorry. Doesn't usually happen. I'm actually wired in now. I was wired in before, Ethernet cable. So it might be the weather. It's snowing over here pretty good.
Yeah, we got a little bit. It was just sleet, I think it was, but not bad.
Yeah. So you're on West Side Michigan. You're probably used to a little bit more snow than we are. I'm in Metro Detroit, so just north of Detroit.
We have the good old fashioned lake effect, but I don't mind it, to be honest with you. Just a little bit about me. I'm originally from the Caribbean, Dominican Republic. So everybody tells me, "Oh, like this must be horrible." I'm like, "No, I just got snow pants and a coat, and I'm okay." Like you adapt. It's kind of like when you go to the Caribbean. What do you wear? Do you wear like a suit, or or do you wear shorts and a light shirt? So same thing here.
For sure, yeah. Are you a big snow biker, snow biking or fat tire bike?
No, I just never really got into it. Or never really. I haven't even tried it, to be honest with you. I have ridden a bike in the snow. It sucks, but I'm sure with the right tool or / bike is great. But no, just on the winter is just snowboarding, and that's about it, man.
Yeah, I was a snowboarder for many years. I haven't snowboarded in a couple years now, but I used to do the Dearborn Heights Ski and Snowboard Club, which was from probably when I was in 4th grade, so 9 years old, to end of high school, senior year. I was like almost every weekend snowboarding. Then I got into like hockey and soccer more, and I mean, those are different times of the year, but hockey, during the winter was took over a lot of stuff, and got into varsity hockey and rode the bench most of the time. But it was fun. It was a good time, and it was a lot of learning experience. I was getting into ice hockey very late. I had played soccer for a dozen years. I played roller hockey most of my life, but then I didn't own ice skates until like my my high school days. So I had skated, I remember, like a handful of times on ice, like 5 or 6 times I had skated on ice before I tried out for varsity hockey, and I made the team. But it was just so much learning experience for me, because there was a AAA guy on the team, and I'm like this guy who's never skated on ice before. So I knew how to play. It's just learning the whole new surface.
It's different. It's
very different. You're stopping different. You're turning different. You're stopping different. But I knew the mechanics of it, so I picked it up pretty quick. But I got an award, I think, for one of the years hardest working or most improved or something like that, because I would do the hockey practice right after school and then realize like I don't have the stamina for this. I'm not in hockey shape. So I go home and run 6 miles after practice, you know, and just that mentality, I took that with me into racing. And you know, you just got to give it your all, and things like that. Being the underdog, I was always the underdog. With hockey, I didn't have you know, the history of playing it, ice hockey at least. And then with racing, I started racing, my number's 20. So I started racing when I was 20. Most of the guys have been doing it for years before that. So I was always the underdog, low budget, but I'm going to show you what I can do. And 50 podiums to my name so far ain't too bad.
Not at all, man. I need to figure out how I'm going to get my wall as good as you, you know?
I just got it. Well, these were all in the attic for years. I was like, I don't know where to put them. You know, I've been, so I got a piece of wood and just put some nails into it, screws into it, and just hung them up that way. And then all the ones on the sides are like mountain biking or cycling or running foot races or Tough Mudders. I got some, which side is it? Tough Mudders up there. Did 4 Tough Mudders so far. Just trying to do all sorts of stuff.
I gotta figure mine out. So I have them in this, I don't know what to call it, in the shelves here that my wife built, but I want to do like a wall with trophies, but she redecorates too much, and I don't think I'm allowed to put it on the wall. So
gotta have your own spot in the house, right?
I did. Well, allegedly this is my office where I'm at, but lo and behold, you know, like somehow like I ended up with toys, you know, so.
I mean, you gotta take a break every once in a while.
Yeah, it's not bad, you know, it's entertaining, except when I actually have to like work from home sometimes. You know, they're like, hey man, you're in my space, and I'm like, nah bro, you're in my space.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I've been working from home now too. I'm trying to do selling parts online full time right now. So right now I think it's 34 brands of parts, from Akasato braking parts to Works racing part brake pads, a little bit of everything. A lot of Italian sport bike parts. We're a Moto D dealer, and they're an importer of Italian parts as well. So a lot of Bonamici and DNA air filters from Greece. So if you ever need any parts, I can help you out and get you what you need, from lap timers, driven racing, exhaust. I got 4 exhaust brands for motorcycles, cars, and trucks.
I need to pick your brain for Star Lanes. I know they're huge in Europe, right? So everybody's going to AIM. I know when you last spoke to Billy Ball, he was switching from Star Lanes back to AIM because everybody has data and whatnot. But I'm like, I don't know, cost is still a factor to me, right? And I used to have a Moto D lap timer, but I don't use lap timers anymore because I'm like, what's the point? I'm not gonna win anything, but you kind of want to know your times here and there. But I'm like, if it's not a race, I just try not to concentrate on the times, but I want a lap timer so bad. So I want to hear from you. How's the Star Lanes? I think there's the Corsaro or something like that.
Yeah, Corsair R. There's a couple different models. They have bike specific models as well for certain bikes that you can plug and play right to your data. I think it's awesome, man. I just bought a Star Lane myself, and you can use it for any course. You can make your own courses. A lot of people are going to the AIMs, but I mean, data is data. You can get the same information from both units. So if you're looking to save some money, there's nothing wrong with the Star Lane. It's just a different brand that's maybe just, I think it's more used overseas. So a lot of these parts are fantastic. Like Bonamici, for example, is they make hard parts, rear sets. Most people don't know what Bonamici is, right? Most people have never heard of it, but it's used on Valentino Rossi's bikes. So, I mean, it's not bad stuff. And in fact, it's the choice of a 9-time world champion. So there's got to be something to said about that.
Yeah, I mean, even the tires, Metzler's is huge and is widely used over in Europe. But here, you know, you rarely see that on the track.
Yeah, so I think it's great. Obviously, I sell it. I'm a little biased, but yeah, man, I think it's good. I've used it for a car track day. I had it in the glove compartment because I didn't have anywhere to mount it to. I need to get a mount for it. And I want to use it for mountain biking. I want to put it on my bicycle and make a course and see if I can make my own course with that. And because I made my own trail in the backyard here. I got my own mountain bike course. I got a little bit bored during the pandemic. It's just like a half-mile trail I built. I got a little forested woods area behind my house. So like to go out there and do some lap times when the snow's not on the ground.
Man, you definitely used your time wisely in the pandemic, you know.
Yeah,
for
man.
me, it was just a lot of work. That was it.
I've just been working on uploading all these products. You know, I have a couple thousand listed so far online. I do eBay and Amazon and my own websites, and just trying to list them all for sale. Lately, I've been working on Revit motorcycle gear. I have that brand. They have suits and jackets and boots and pants and a lot of casual apparel. They have, you know, gloves and t-shirts, polos. It's wild. About 4,300 unique items I'm working on for that brand. So
yeah, I can only imagine, because I mean, you have like one part that has different colors, different sizes. I mean, when you look at it, it's a lot of combinations. For
sure. It's you know, they have all the just like you're saying, all the colors and sizes, trying to get them all right in Excel. Every single item is one row, and one item could be, I was just looking, up to 80 columns. A lot of those are generic values, so you don't have to fill out every single one, but sure, you got to do all the sizing and all the colors and the pricing. I figured out pretty detailed Excel work with doing index match formulas and just grabbing data from this sheet and putting it in here based on a barcode. It's like, oh my goodness.
It's a lot of the pivot table that you're doing at the end of the day, and it's just it's a lot of data, man. And
or just converting
one
stuff.
Cell. It only takes one cell and it messes the whole.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Now eBay is telling me I have to add more item specifics that are required. They're not optional anymore. So like for gloves, you have to say what material is it? Is it leather or textile? I got to do that for thousands of products. You know, it's not like you can just put one generic value on everything. It's different for jackets. You got to put on like size type or whatever. You know, everything's different. So taking forever, but the end result is I hopefully will not have to work for anybody else anymore.
Yeah, that sounds like a great deal, man. So keep at it.
Shipping products, and a lot of them were the parts that I use too, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
So
that's pretty awesome.
Heck yeah. So we got about an hour and 23 minutes. Probably wrap it up. And I got one more. I got a post before I get to yours. I just did one yesterday with Jack Roach. So we talked for about the same amount of time, and he's going over to British Superbike next year. So he'll be over there. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I wonder how he's going to do. I know Brandon Pash, he was out there as well. He did all right. I think he injured himself and he was out for a round or two, but I want to follow some of those series that are just very competitive, and that you get some people here from the States that get to go out there, so you can see their journey, man. It's awesome that we can actually see it nowadays.
Yeah, it's exciting then watching them grow up and become professional racers.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, man, just sharing the track with those guys. I shared the track at Pit Race with I think it was Rocco Landers. He was in the same race. Obviously, I wasn't near him, but I was like on the out lap. I was close to him. So I mean, yeah, I mean, and it's funny because in DS's, I was like, holy crap, that guy's about to crash. No, that he's just carrying speed and he's doing his thing, you know. So you learn, and it's a good experience.
Heck yeah. All right, so I guess that should be about it for today. I'm gonna get this edited and posted. Make sure we tag anybody we talked about, and I'll talk to you real soon, man.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Eric. Have a good one, man.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Yep.